Welcome to your 12 sign horoscopes for Venus in Virgo 2026. I'm Ever Curdy, and I want to warmly welcome you to this episode where I'm going to be going through everything very, very slowly, but hopefully it will fill up a little bit over an hour's time. So, if you haven't seen part 1, which I did the other day on my podcast, which I talked about the collective look at Venus and Virgo, I talked all about the themes of efficiency and service, and I talked a little bit about being humble. I talked a little bit about improving where things need to go, not overworking, not being overly critical. Talked about being sort of private, and all the themes that I discussed on that podcast will overlap into this episode, where those themes that I discussed are going to carry over into this episode, are going to show up within your readings for all 12 signs, because I don't do the houses. I don't. So most every astrological 12 sign video does it through the whole sign house system, Placidus, whatever house system that they're using. I don't use a house system. I do it based off of the qualities of the signs. So if you're like, I want to listen to this and I'm interested in this and I want to keep listening and keep listening. If you're just disappointed, like, well, I wanted the other, well, sorry, I'm not going to give that to you here, because I don't know how to do that, and I don't necessarily believe in it. Yes, there are some good astrologers that do it very, very well, and certain things like that, as long as you're doing it in a spiritual way, not a superficial way. But I don't do that here, because underneath all of that, I still disagree with it, and I still don't. So. I'm going to break this down through all 12 signs you want to watch. For your sun, moon, and rising sign, your rising sign is most mathematically accurate, astrologically accurate. Your sun sign deals with more of the themes of what's going on, then your moon sign is more emotional, intuitive, more subjective. So, so you want to check out all 3, or just listen to your sun and rising sign, or just your rising sign, probably most likely your rising sign. And if you don't know your moon and rising sign, you can go to astro.com and find that information out. Okay. So, now, all right, so let us discuss. I'm going to start with Aries. I'm going to go in order. I know there's several astrologers who don't do that. I go in order with every single one, no matter what. That's typically how I do it. So I'm going to start with Aries, go all the way until Pisces, beginning right here, right now. So timestamps are in the description in this video. You can click forward to any timestamps. If they do show up, there's a little bit of uncertainty whether they will or not, but if they do, then great. If they don't, they are always in the description for you to find. So, delving into Aries. Now, Aries is a physical sign. And this is so much about your physical health and physical body. This is where the transit really emulates and ambulates. So it's about focusing on your physical body and what you're nurturing inside your physical body, what you're taking care of inside your physical body, because that's where the true answer lies, is your physical body. So the details, like your nervous system, your nutrition, your, I'm going to use a new word I've never used before, sympathetic nervous system. If that's even a thing, I think it deals with more of your stomach. I've definitely, when I do these recordings, this anxiety that comes in, I'm in Aries doing this. it's been very, very difficult to do these recordings because, well, not the most difficult, but there's always this anxiety, like, what if it doesn't work out? What if it doesn't publish? What if the recording doesn't say? What if? And it's kind of, I've had tension on my body when I've been doing these, and I've been noticing the tension, and it's been affecting my enjoyment of doing these recordings. And so I will probably be meditating more. I'll probably be pulling my oracle cards more, probably doing that more. Uranus is in Gemini now, so the nervous system is really, really activated and affected, because your nervous system really is triggered very, very easily with Uranus in Gemini, and around this time my nervous system is just going off the walls. So it's about focusing on, it's like the next shoe is going to drop kind of feeling. So it's about focusing on taking care of your nervous system, taking care of your physical body, especially your head, because Aries rules the head. So drinking enough water. Getting enough fluids in your body, getting enough vegetables, like taking care of because Virgos, Virgo's like, we need to talk about this, we need to talk about that. Virgo is the nitty-gritty stuff dealing with your physical health. So this is the time to take care of any physical health things going on. It's time to take care of your physical health, physical well-being. That's what you want to ultimately nurture at this time, is your physical well-being. Taking care of your body, taking care of your mental health. Any little detail, which you only know what details of your physical body needs to be looked at, and now's the time to take care of them. Now's the time to deal with them. So this could be exercising. This could also be exercising wherever you've been sitting down too much, wherever you've not been moving actively. Like, I have an exercise routine of like at least 3 times a day. I move my body 15 minutes a day on the treadmill because I have some health issues that I am getting over. I had something really, really bad happen to me December 2025, in which case the whole trajectory of my life and my state of mind changed throughout the end of January 2025 into the end of December 2025 into mid-January 2026. That's when it all got changed around for me. During that experience, it was really, really brutal. It was really, really tough. It was long, but I endured through that, and I got out the other side of it. And so it led me a month later, after getting out, to starting this podcast, to starting back. And it was like, I made a video back in December, like I was gonna stop making videos. And then I made another video a couple days later saying I'm to come back when I feel strengthened. So as soon as I got out, the next day after getting out, I created a video and I posted again. So, so now after that experience, I am moving my body. I am exercising, really, really taking care of my health. Really, really focusing on my health. Getting, not having a whole lot of fiber, as much fiber and sugar in my diet as I used to drink soda very, very regularly, and now I don't drink any of it at all because it's just I don't know if I can handle it or not. But I didn't intend to get off sugar, but as soon as I did, when I got to the hospital, I was like, whoa, my mood is just skyrocketed. I just feel so good, so energized, so vitalized. I just can't even believe this. I was a new me when I got out of that hospital. I transformed mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I have a video in my Real Me podcast called My Great Reset, being in the hospital, My Great Reset. So I discussed that experience in depth in that video. If you want to hear my personal experience with that, you can go and listen to that episode. It's a really, really significant episode that I did in my mind, because it's about the authentic me and, who I was to who I became. So, I just thought I'd mention all of this to sort of paint this picture of, like, now that that's happened, I am more focused on my physical health. I'm taking care of my body, and I take my health and well-being more seriously. So this time is a real time to focus on physical health, moving energy, moving your body, being very, very physical, being very, very active on the physical level, and getting, all those kind of things like that. I'm not going to even go on. Now, the next point is, I read this in a book a while ago, about a little book of Aries by Jeff Henshaw that I have in my library, that I got from Barnes & Noble back at the very beginning of 2020, January 2020, and that book had a thing like, "You messed me up," in quotes, like blaming others for doing that. And right now I'm picturing riding on my scooter near Assassinate Park near my grandparents' house in Missouri, and falling because a stranger was walking, and then just blaming the stranger, and having my arm, hit like that, like that. Such time is very, very nostalgic to me, and it was such a tough year, but for me, it really was a very, very good year for me. I mean, if I hadn't the guilt over not finishing books, it would have been just the complete picture. I mean, the world was going through really, really tough, but I was enjoying my life at home at that time. It wasn't really a dark time in my life. The dark time came middle of 2022 into the end of 2025. So that was my dark, depressed period of my life. But but this seeking the blame outside of you, seeking this external blame, it's time to stop seeking the blame outside of you, and it's time to start being accountable. Looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, where have I done wrong? Where have I put myself in jeopardy? Where have I messed up the ding-a-lings and ding-alongs? Where have I put in the wrong foot to this show and dance and whatever I'm performing in? So it's time to look at, during this time, accountability for your own actions, responsibility for your own actions. That's what I'm saying here, because it ultimately makes you head better in the way of being a more evolved person, being just okay. It's not fake. It's not fake. Don't worry. Don't worry. I don't want to make this fake and just for others. Nope, I don't believe in that. Instead, I invite you to do this. I invite you to just take a breath and just be honest and surrender. Because as soon as you do the good, authentic thing, your life will get better. As soon as you surrender into some truth and some peace and some calm and some responsibility for your actions and some emotional regulation for your actions, and you do the good, right thing, your life will get better. I know this because I've probably been in this situation, and I've observed this. I was watching a short film the other day with this woman who really put on a scene in a coffee place or whatever, and she got in this class in order for her not to go to jail, and she really degraded the teacher, and then she turned around, sort of got her act together and did the right thing, and so her life became better because of it. So That's why I think authenticity is so key. Yeah. So, and there's a difference between doing the right thing and actually getting your own dreams and goals and feelings squashed and not being able to do what you feel for you is the right thing. I mean, it's all an intuitive thing. It's all an internal thing. It's not a head intellectual thing. It's about like pushing yourself and overthinking and da-da-da-da-da. No. Like, get out of your head, drop in your body. The ego blames others for actions that are wrong. The ego is the one that blames. The ego is the one that lies. And the ego is not always truthful. And is it truthful? I don't know if it is, because there's a lot of insecurity with the ego. The ego is the one who wants to protect itself because it doesn't feel safe. Wants to, it has a like fighting between you against them. And well, you know you're in your ego. Like, I'm sure that you've been there. Like, you are fully aware that you are lying and you're not being true about the situation where you've done wrong. Just, it's so much simpler and so much better for you to just take a breath and be honest and deal with the consequences of what you've done, and being honest with that action, and just to breathe. Like, I say this in a very, very compassionate way. Like, it's so much, honesty is the best policy. They do say that for a reason. And I think that just, when you're honest and you get out of the lying ego, and you just drop into your truth and what is true and what you know is true, and really living from that place and speaking from that place, your life will be so much better the more authentic you will be. Okay. So I think accountability, responsibility, instead of looking for, like you messed me up, just take a breath, drop into something humble, drop into something truthful, just admit it. There's this fear, like, are they going to judge me? Are they going to not like me? And I think that's that fear, the insecurity of, like, are they not going to like me? Or they're going to judge me or whatever, is why we lie in the first place, is because of this fear, this insecurity. So can you trust that it's going to be fine? Trust that people are going to be understanding and compassionate to you and loving to you. It's just a matter of you speaking the truth, being honest. So, I want my little kid self to be able to hear that, and I hope that, he would understand what I was saying and wouldn't, argue with me about. I'm sure that some of these points my little kid self would argue with me about, I'm sure, because at the time, not as mature as I am now, but oops. Hold on a moment. Woohoo! Back. Okay. So you don't have to do it all alone, also. You do not have to do this all alone. You can reach out and have help. Get support for someone providing security for you. Aries has this tendency of thinking it's all about them. They have to do it all on their own. All on their own. They can't get any help whatsoever. They can't get anyone to help them. They're all on their own. They're all out in the cold. And they can't have help. But you are worthy of relationship. You are worthy of having help. You're worthy of having assistance and care. I think that is so important to remember, is being able to reach out and get the support, get the help that you need with that. So, moving on to Taurus now. Just gotta move on. I've spent enough time, I've spent forever on Aries. It's my own sign, so, there it is. Sun sign is always the hardest to uphold to because it's your ego. Like, your ego doesn't want to hear new information. Your ego is not open and, intuitive and curious. So that's why the sun is the most difficult, I think, piece reading to receive, because it's ego. The ego is kind of resistant to new information. So, intuition and curiosity go hand in hand. They're actually siblings or cousins to each other. Like, your soul is more curious to learn information, like it's humble. Your ego wants to maintain its status and pride. It wants to win and wants, superiority, and there's all these things, with that. And if any limiting belief comes up in regards to all this stuff, it all goes back to the model, ego versus soul. It's what I go back to. It's my sort of bread and butter thing. I have a video on this podcast, the ego and the soul. I highly recommend you go check it out. Because I discuss those two in depth. So anyway, Taurus now. Focusing on your relationships instead of just merely self-sufficiency, because Taurus is a sign that can slave away and work away with what it is doing. Being the one who has to take home the bacon, do the taxes, do the chores, do all this kind of stuff, provide, do all this stuff. And having to be self-sufficient. Like, earth signs come into this life alone and they leave this life alone. And what this means is they are consciously aware that you live this life alone. And at worst, earth signs can be sad because it's so negative, so realistic, so too realistic, to the point of just not being able to, not having the space to just receive help. Like, feeling that they have to do it all on their own, and they don't have help because they're the ones to do it. They're the only ones to do it right. So if you're the only one to do it right, do it yourself. It's kind of an earth thing to say, earth sign thing to say. And so there's this self-sufficiency sort of wound, this provider wound that Taurus has. And we're going to be really looking at that because Taurus, Chiron is in Taurus, and a little bit of that will be discussed later. Another aspect of it, but where is someone else becoming incredibly critical and nitpicky and judgmental over you? And this acting critical, this acting really, negative, is disrupting your inner peace. Is disrupting your own sense of peace, sense of calm, sense of equilibrium that you have about yourself. So it's important to talk with them, have conversations with them. Talk with them. Talk it out. Mend their ways. Talk with them about what is going on, so that you can support them in all of those kind of ways. You can support them in all the kind of ways that you can easily do that. So just had a sip of coffee there, but it's like you don't like anything to disrupt your peace. Anyone who's complaining or negative or whatever, you're a positive earth sign, so it just makes you feel like lack of equilibrium when someone's being so critical and so judgmental. It just really gets to you, and really just, you don't like that energy. It's just, I totally get you. And I was actually one who caused that, and my grandfather, who was a Taurus, sat and heard that when I was younger, when I was very critical over my grandma's cooking, which I didn't think was as good as my mom's cooking. But being really critical over that, and hearing that. So it must have been very hard, like it, kept him from just being present and being at peace, because he needed peace. he had a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of those kind of things. He was on a lot of medications, and so absolute peace and harmony at all costs. I mean, like any little thing, getting so anxious about so many different things. I mean, there's sort of a high maintenance quality to him into the relationship between my grandma and my grandpa. He needed a lot of medication, a lot of, support and this and that. He was older, so, but can you, instead of, dealing with the critical thing, can you talk with them? Can you talk with these people and mend their ways? Can you help them to get better with what they are doing? Can you help them to see, like, oh, I don't need to be so critical. I don't need to be so judgmental. So that's one thing. And then the next thing is look at what you don't need to spend your money on. Because Taurus can easily get caught in the nice things, the material things, the luxuries, the really, really fancy things that you want to get, because we're all material beings after all. We need all these things. So I think that a lesson of Taurus is gratitude. I think that it's very, very important to just be satisfied with where you are now, what you already have. And not just want the next best thing, or the next phone, or the next, piece of clothing that you don't need, or the next, all these things that you don't need. And you could argue blank's hierarchy of needs. Don't give me that. Because let me just place entertainment on the hierarchy of needs, and let's not make it complicated with creating a pyramid of it. Okay, entertainment is a need to an extent. Obviously you don't need to go to see a play or see a movie, or you spend money on those kind of things, but you need a computer, you need a phone, and music and those kind of things for entertainment. I mean, yeah, right. So so needing entertainment. So, but if you don't need it, if it's not necessary for you, and if you feel like, what, this is a bit of an excessive expense, this is a time where you can be a little bit more frugal, if that's the word for it, like cutting back on always spending and expending your energy with expenses and all those kind of things like that. So, Chiron is in Taurus after all, and I've heard that a couple of astrologers say that resources will probably be more scarce. I don't want to fearmonger you into that. I'm just saying best to focus on what you already have and not get so caught up in, what I lack, but focusing on what you already have. So I think that is a really, really important lesson for Taurus gratitude. So Gemini. Now, Gemini is an intellectual sign, very, very mental sign, very, curious sign, wants to have conversations. And the question is, are you basing your self-worth on external approval and connection, and just basing your own sense of peace and self-worth on the external connections that you're getting yourself into? Or can you feel lit up on your own by all these kind of things? Can you feel validated without needing the connection, without needing the relationship, with the interaction, or the whatever is keeping you from your blank and barn sense of just needing the connection all the time, but feeling connected already with it. It sounds ironic, I know, like feeling connected without the connection. But let me just go on to my next point. Not being dependent upon their external connection for that to happen, but being connected with someone in your environment in a mutual way, not a superficial way. Like really forming deep connections without being dependent. Like really savoring the connection, really milking it for all it's worth, really receiving the connection, and not just, and not just being a superficial. Like, I'm talking about all these superficial things like the weather and, what you wore last night, we had for dinner, like all the superficial things. Like, we want deep conversation, deep connection, and real authentic connection. So that's what you really want. And you may find that at this time, relationships are a thing that you might need more at this time. Venus in Virgo is square to your sign, so that might make it a little bit more critical for you to have that. But so, real connection is very important. And it's about forming healthy intellectual relationships. Forming these relationships, forming these really good intellectual connections. And seeing where in this intellectual connection there's not enough give and take, there's not enough reciprocity, there's not enough sharing of opinions and thoughts and ideas. And seeing where that needs to be improved, seeing where all that needs to be, made better in your life. I think that's really huge. So, forming healthy intellectual relationships and, seeing a need to make them better, seeing a need to improve them and really help them out along the lines of, whatever you're doing. Where healthy intellectual, I've just seen a couple people on scooters just going past my window just recently. It's getting really popular in my neighborhood right now. Everyone seems to be on scooters right now, so they've gotten really popular. Anyway, I'm repeating myself. It's about seeing where there's not enough intellectual connection, seeing where there's not enough understanding in the connection, sympathy in the connection, whatever, have you. So that's Gemini. Now, Cancer. Cancer can get into the narrative of what they call woe is me, which is basically you are complaining about what's wrong, being in the very negative, the doldrums, the sad story. Oh, why am I always the one to do this? And complaining, being very moody, and then very negative things. Like, Cancer can be very moody, like complaining about things and getting all emotionally worked up about things, and I don't know if somebody was born June 27th or 28th. I'd probably, I don't know if I would restrict them because their sun would be conjunct my Saturn, and I would probably talk to them about the importance of, maybe in certain conversations about that you don't need others to nurture you, that you can take care of yourself, you can love yourself first, and you can, do all these things like that. And just, and I would see the reactivity and the emotional moodiness come out, and I would probably try to tamp that down, because it's like I've done this probably before, and then you're acting all moody, and it's really draining me. And I'm going to talk about emotional regulation, and I'm going to talk about with them, and hopefully they wouldn't judge or reject me for it. I'm just noticing behavior that I don't like to see, and I am standing up for myself about it, and I am dealing with it. So I would teach the Cancer Sun person about, you don't have to be in these emotions. You don't have to be, always, reactive and moody and all this. You can actually calm down and drop into something more peaceful, more sovereign. Like, I saw a short the other day by a woman that I follow on Instagram really recently. who said, like, the best thing you can do is the most powerful skill you can possess or have is, like, staying in a good mood. So she talked about, people are going to say things and you can't control them, and being on your eagle's perch about it, and being, emotionally regulating yourself and not allowing what they say or what they do to get the better of you. Cancer can be really, really deeply affected with the environment and allow it to really, really get the better of them with the emotional moodiness. So I think that whenever I would see the emotional moodiness, or the emotional reactivity, I would frown upon that, and I would say, no, I don't want to see this. I don't want to have you doing this in my life, because this is not making me feel at peace. So the Capricorn, which is the opposite sign of Cancer, and I think that with your Saturn sign, with some person, you'd probably talk about the lessons of the opposite sign. Capricorn is emotional maturity. It is self-sufficiency, building up a life for yourself, responding instead of reacting. All those Capricornian things I'd probably emphasize to that Sun person, and I would be the Saturn person. So let's see if I actually meet somebody born June 27th or 28th and see, how they would be for me. So, it's okay to feel all these things. It's okay to feel all of these, all of these emotions of what you're feeling. But you don't have to be stuck in the story, but you don't have to be stuck in the negative story of it, of what's going on. You can find a remedy for it. You can find a solution out of it. You can find something to be out of it. You can find something where you don't have to be in the stuck story and in the depressed story. You can easily, find a helpful remedy to that, and not always complaining and being all that. So now, there are some practical aspects to family relationships, such as family getting money or family, fill in the blank, that need to be in place. And it's very, very important with these relationships to make proper decisions for the family, being the one in charge, being the one who stands up, and working collaboratively, or working collaboratively with them. And I think that families should collaborate. Families, it should be democracy. The children should collaborate with the parents. Now, part of, working together is that releasing the ego need to not always get your way. But they don't have to feel alone, and it's not a democracy, and they are not the one, in charge. Like, they need to feel a sense of power. Like, they need to feel a sense of connection to the parents, and they need to feel like they're not being controlled. Because children, whenever they're being controlled, oh, no. So, they need to lovingly understand that the parents are doing it for the best when they work with them, and a compromise is made in this and that. And yes, they learn to accept disappointment. Yes, they learn a lot of these, skills when it comes to this, but their voices are heard. And it is democratic and not a dictatorship where the parents are not the one in charge. And they're not just shaping them and deleting the authenticity of the child. And kids are included in this. Kids are included in collaborating with the parents. Kids are included in working with the parents. Now, they are not probably going to be the ones responsible for the house and this and that. But they can work with them in regards to a lot of areas when it comes to certain things. So anyway, you may not be comfortable being seen at this time. You may want to hide, because Cancer wants its privacy, needs its alone time, needs that time to itself. And so you may want to become more private. There's this need to become really, really private in your own little world. go into your own little world, retreat into yourself, take care of yourself emotionally, take care of yourself on a nurturing based level. And this is okay to do this. You know, this is a time where you have permission to do this. Take care of yourself on the innermost level with whatever you have going on emotionally, you know, psychologically, or, you know, whatever. To take care of yourself, to tend yourself during July 10th through August 7th when Venus is in Virgo. So now moving on to Leo. It's about looking at what needs improvement in the sense where there's not true authentic connections, where the people are not respecting each other for who they are, honoring each other for who they are, where you and another are not respecting each other for who they are. Enough authentic connection in the relationship, where there's not that bond or connection or tie to the relationship, where this connection needs to be put into play here. This connection really needs to be made. And so anywhere where there's not the authenticity in relationships, and I'm going to look up just to discuss this, because I think that's so important. You know, authenticity in relationship means showing up as who you really are without, you know, without trying to please or cater to the partner, where the two people are respecting each other's authenticity, working together, respecting each other's authenticity. So that's really important. It's about transparency, about feelings, so honoring, you know, looking at that. So where is there no authenticity in your relationships? Where do those elements that I just listed, just described, need to be in place for the relationship to really thrive? So that's that there. And then becoming discerning about the relationships you have is another point that I want to make. Do these relationships truly make you feel fulfilled, Leo? Do they really light you up? Do they really make you feel happy and full of joy and full of heartfelt enthusiasm and full of love and connection and harmony and all these kind of things like that? You know, do they really bring warmth and energy to your life and vitality to your heart? Or are they squashing your authenticity? Or are they squashing your passion, your creativity, your your love for what you're doing? I mean, are they squashing this, or are they hindering this? I mean, that's really the question that you could ask yourself with these relationships. And also, you know, it's about appreciating all of the pleasures that Venus has to offer, because Venus is the principle of pleasure, enjoyment, food, nice pleasure, nice, you know, clothing. Aesthetic is represented by Venus. So, so you are appreciating these material things that Venus gives you, that Venus offers you, without going overboard in your spending, you know, without overdoing it, you know, in your spending. Because, you know, you don't need to overdo. You don't need to buy 5 pairs of the same sock, or five, you know, or all these fancy Chanel bag, whatever they call it, or just spending it on all these material things. Like looking at what you don't need, what fulfills you on a soul level. Reminds me of that podcast I did, Money Cannot Buy Happiness. If you like where this is going, you may want to check that out, that deep dive that I did May 12th. You may want to go back and see that. So, but the question is, what fulfills you on a soul level? What really fills you up on a soul level? Not necessarily, you know, ego, and not necessarily that. So, you know, really, it is about, really appreciating all of these things, really appreciating all that it can, give you with all that you're engaging in your life, and not, you know, overdoing it, not needing to overdo the spending or overdo the buying and the consuming and everything along those lines, where you're just enjoying what you can get, what's affordable, and what you have. Money is set up in a certain way to fulfill you only on a soul level. And that's it. Money is set up in the way that it is so that it's not just food for your ego. Like all those commercials that just say, "Oh, you need this. Oh, you need that." Like that's all. That's all just temptations that will just make you very, very unhappy in your life, and just things. It's just you have to look at it from a very, very detached perspective, and that's just the glitter for your ego. That's just the food for your ego. That's just gonna feed your ego. These are the distractions of life, not what really fulfills you on a soul level. So it's important to recognize that, and you know what? I don't need this to be happy. I'm good already. I don't need all these things to make me feel obsessed about not having this or feel a sense of lack. Like, I'm good already. Don't allow the commercials and the algorithms of life to steal you away from your own peace about what you already have. Like, they can really, really take away your peace by getting in your psychology and making you want all these things that you don't need. It's like you feel a sense of lack, and then you get it and you're like, ugh, I don't need this. It's not worth my money. I can't enjoy it because of the fact that I spent some money to pay for it. I can't enjoy it for what it is. Like, that could be a thing. Like, that's kind of how when I join channel memberships, it's like I feel the sense of lack, like I need to join it. Then when I watch the videos from it, I'm like, this isn't really worth it to me at all. And then I just wasted my money. So I have enough wisdom now to know that. And the fact is that videos that are free on YouTube, which most of them are better than the videos in the membership. Mark my words when I say that. So that's what I want to say with that particular point about Leo is enjoying things, the pleasures of life that fulfill you on a soul level. So Virgo, don't raise your expectations too high at this time. Virgo can easily raise his expectations very, very high. It's important to keep these things very, very low. It's important to have low expectations. And don't give in to becoming uptight and very, very controlling over all these little things, and you need to have everything your way. You need to have the table, like Virgo can get obsessed about the table not being neat enough and the silverware not being in the right place or whatever. So it's important to not have your expectations be too high, but to not need everything to like. Virgo has this expectation of perfection. Release the expectation of feeling a certain way, of having it go a certain way, because life is not going to always hand you those cards. Flow, relax, release perfectionism, and just surrender to the beautiful dance the universe and the higher power gives that transcends. Like, the universe is not going to always give you what you have written out and have planned in your mind. Like, the universe is operating from a higher place, more wise and loving place, and sometimes the things that you didn't plan for happen. And it's always for your highest good. Like, trusting that with the universe is always for your highest good. So, can you not raise your expectations so high with keeping them low and not giving into always being, always needing to have things go a certain way, always needing to have the plan go a certain way. And then, where is there not a stable reciprocity in a relationship? Where is there not that reciprocity where you are giving and then also receiving from another? Because that's reciprocity. You give and then also receive, where that dance of giving and receiving. Where are you giving and getting it in return? Where is there not the reciprocity in relationships? Where is there's not the back and forth dynamic going on in relationships where you are giving and the other is also receiving back, and then vice versa. So relationships are two-way street. They're about both the giving and the the receiving principle. So that's what is important to remember at this particular point in time. So, you know, so that's really, really important to remember. And then, and then looking at, looking at what needs improvement in the relationship. What really, really needs improvement in the relationship. So, what small details can you fix to make the relationship the best that it can possibly be? How can you make the relationship the best that it can be with fixing what doesn't work? It doesn't. It's not suitable for you anymore. It's not supposed to be there anymore. It's not meant for you anymore to fix. So, I'll probably go through a little bit quicker for the next 7 signs, for the last 7 signs of Zodiac. So I'm going to begin with Libra first of all. So, can you see and appreciate who you are in relationship? I mean, really, really seeing this, for who you are, with who you're with, for who you are. So my point is, can you see and appreciate who you're in relationship with for who they are? And not trying to become overly controlling. Because Libra can be a cardinal sign. It can control, kind of control the relationship. So allowing there to be the balance between you and the other person. Because that's what relationships are. They are a balance between you and your authenticity and the other person's, who they are and what they bring to the table. So, appreciating that, appreciating who you really, really are in that bond, in that connection, and all those kind of things like that. So, can you work together and use your collaboration skills to find win-win solutions at this time? That's going to be a really, really key theme. Okay. So, can you work together with the other person? Can you bond with them? Can you collaborate and see what solutions will work for me? So there's a disagreement and you have a solution. In conflict resolution is not fighting, but showing up and being honest and, talking about whatever's going on. So, working together, finding those win-win solutions, collaborating, coming together, finding a simpatico between you and the other, finding win-win solutions, finding those things going on with that. So, can you collaborate? Can you work together with the other in that kind of way to find those collaborative solutions? And then, what don't you need to spend your money on, Libra? What don't you need to spend your precious money on? With whatever you are doing, whatever you're spending it on. Because Libra can be really, really lavish. It can have a sense of taste, have a sense of nice clothes, and diamonds are a girl's best friend. And look at all the fancy things, all the very, very lavish things. And so, but this can become going overboard with spending your money, going overboard on spending on these unnecessary, excessive items, which are these expenses that you do not need. So really, really cutting back on overspending and just spending your money on what fulfills you on a soul level, like I talked to Leo about, and not overdoing it in that sense of the word. So then Scorpio is about not basing your sense of self-worth on another person, because Scorpio can base its, can need validation from another, validation from the other in its life. So where it's not about needing the external validation, like I'm a Scorpio South Node, and one of the shadows of Scorpio South Node is needing validation. Like, you don't need validation for how much ice cream you have in your bowl. You don't need validation for all this Trust. This is easier said than done. But with the OCD in my brain right now, I need to trust that I know the answers inside me and that I'm fulfilled inside me. So, where you base your self-worth on something else, something external to you, something, allowing this to fill you up instead of filling up your own cup with yourself and always having to do things for others and tend to others with needing that safety net to be there and always having to cater to others because you need their love, you need their attention, you need their praise, you need their acceptance, you need their validation. And whereas this keep holding you back from just simply being worthy already as a being, being worthy already as a spiritual being living human experience, as someone in your own skin. And so it's also about not getting caught in the dark emotions that come with human nature in that relationship. It's also not getting caught in that, going on here with this kind of a thing like that. It's about focusing on what can be healed. It's really, really about focusing on what can be healed, what can be looked at. So it's about not getting, not allowing the dark emotions to really, really overtake you. And, look at the dark emotions in their relational dynamic, for instance. And that relationship with you when it comes to the dark emotions of human nature, the dark emotions of others. So it's about focusing on what can be healed. What can be healed, what can be mended over, what kind of emotions need to be looked at very specifically, and can you heal those emotions? You don't have to be in that emotional story. You can work through these emotions and get better at them and really, really look at them and improve and heal. Not like trying to push away or fix it, but just allow. I think that allowing is so incredibly important with the emotions, not trying to force them because you can't, really get rid of them. They're going to be there, so the high level is just to let them be there, just like leaves on the stream, letting them. So, and then eliminating what doesn't work. What really doesn't work in the relationship, because one of Scorpio's best qualities is getting rid of, the old to make space for the new. Letting die what doesn't seem to work and hold water. Looking at what has to die in order for something new to be reborn with another person. Where relational dynamic is not healthy, where relational dynamic is not serving you in a way which needs to be let go of and die away in order for something new to be, put into place and, put into, birth into whatever you are doing. So I think that that's really, really important to take a look at in relationships, is looking at what doesn't seem to hold water anymore, what just needs to just go away, and what do you need to release, which is taking up space and taking up attention. What needs to be let go of in order for you to find something that works? Sometimes we have to let go of the old. Scorpio is about embracing the process of transformation, letting go of the old that doesn't work in order to make space for the new. This whole process that you were birthed into. Sometimes in order to feel satisfied and fulfilled and at peace, you need change. You need you need to let something go to make space for the new energy, to make space for the new dynamic, the new chapter in that relationship, the new section in relationship. So what needs to die in order for something to take its place? So then Sagittarius. Now maybe you don't want relationships. because you're just all about freedom. Sagittarius just wants to go its own way, do its own thing, have a lot of freedom. But at this time, with Venus and Virgo, you are asked to make space in your heart for another person. You are asked to open up the space and really, really, open up to what is going on, and making space in your heart for somebody else, and not always needing to do your own thing all the time, but being able to do it, on your own terms, and that you don't have to do it all alone, that you are worthy of having relationships, you're worthy of having people that get you and respect and understand your need for freedom. So, were you trying to fit into a box? Were you trying to fit into somebody else's box? Finding the right relationships, I think, is very, very important, because you're trying to fit into a box where you're too big for that box. You just, stick your foot up in your mouth and speak with your foot in your mouth, and you're so wild and loud and whatever, and you fit into someone's box that makes that has too much, that has so little space for you, that you just blow up the box with shrapnel and whatever. You just burn it away, and you burn the box because you can't fit into it, because your energy is so loud and dynamic and expressive that that you're just too big for these britches. You need to snile up into a box that really, really works for you, that really, really fits you. So can you fit into someone else's box that makes enough space for you, that allows you to have the space, that allows you to have the open-heartedness and the open space and the time and the energy, in the whatever, for you to be able to fit inside of that? I think that's very, very important. And then where can you support others in opening their minds to new knowledge? Well, you are all about discovery as opposed to just making it practical, applying it. You're all about the adventure, the discovery of the information. So where can you support others in becoming more open-minded to new things? Because Sagittarius is about travel, opening up your mind, doing all this, and becoming open to discovery, becoming open to new kinds of things, and becoming open to learning and growing and traveling and exploring and doing all these kind of things like that. So where can you help that other person in turn to be as just free and liberated and open-minded as you can be? Capricorn, you may be less open to socializing at this time, and you may be more reserved at this time. And Capricorn is sort of a hermit. It's sort of a sign that sort of only participates in any social gathering if there's a real practical reason to, and not just goes out on the town and going out to all these parties and this and that. So you're meant to be more reserved at this time. You're meant to be, you're meant to be more reserved. Like, if you feel more reserved, like you want to do your own thing, because Virgo is a very, very modest sign. It wants to do its own thing. So during Venus and Virgo, if you want to come in with yourself and, be private in your own little world or whatever, then permission to do this. So it's good to be discerning about relationship and see how accountable you are with another person. See accountable you are with another, and are you taking responsibility? Are you taking accountability for your actions? Are you doing your part, and is the other doing their part? Because Capricorn wants a relationship with the two people are working together, where they're supporting each other to help them with their goals or whatever, where they are accountable, where they have the responsibility, where they have the self-sufficiency to take care of themselves, where they hold up to their promises and commitments. They own their actions. They are responsible for what they do. And so, again, like I was talking about with Cancer, those Capricorn lessons I may be teaching onto somebody who has their sun at 7 degrees and 5 minutes of Cancer, because I have my Saturn at 7 degrees, 5 minutes of Cancer. So anyone born June 27th or 28th, you're gonna not leave the relationship being the same person that you were coming in. Because I'm not gonna deal with anything that I cannot stand for, anything that I frown upon. The certain dynamics that I may see that I may not be able to live with. And I want to be kind, I want to be compassionate, but I'm not going to just bow down to every little thing that you're doing, because it really, really would make me feel very, very uncomfortable and very, and like the certain things that we need to talk about and certain, like all the things like addressing these things in that relationship. So, addressing with the other person is not being accountable, not being responsible. So, how can you make things more efficient when it comes to your work situation? Or possibly your career, or your, how can you make things more efficient? Because Capricorn is the efficiency, Capricorn is the hard work, so making things really, really efficient, very, very, attending to those responsibilities, doing all those kind of things, I think is really, really important, at this time, with this. And then, what needs resolving in your work situation, or your relationship? What needs resolving in whatever area of life you have going on, whatever area of life speaks most strongly to you. We are tying up loose ends in this area. We are finishing up the loose ends in this particular arena, and you are doing this. So, what needs resolving in work? Your work situation, your 10th house, your 6th house, or your relationships, your 3rd, 7th, 11th house, the air houses in astrology. So, the 3rd, 7th, and 11th house in astrology are the air houses. So, what needs to be cleaned up and worked through in order for you to have a certain resolution with this, with what you're doing, so that you can tie up the loose ends going on here. What needs to be resolved at this time? Virgo is the mutable summer, the last Earth sign before we get into fall. So Virgo is about cleaning up and finishing things up and preparing for the next season. So how can you resolve the things that need to be resolved? Now Aquarius is very, very huge. Like Aquarius moons, I noticed this, my dad is an Aquarius moon, and needs a lot of space. Sagittarius definitely needs a lot of space in the relationship, likes to be, alone. There's a quality of I just feel it's kind of a loner quality dynamic going on. So where, Aquarius needs to have space, and looking at what dynamics is working and what isn't. Where have you not been allowed space, and where are you not allowing the other person space? I mean, Aquarius, I think that naturally you allow the other person space, because you cannot have love without freedom. You cannot have love without allowing others to be themselves. Conditional love is not love, okay? It isn't. Love has to be acceptance and allowing the person to be who they are, who they want to be, who is true for them to be in their own lives. You have to allow the person to be, who they are, to really, really make space for the, in the relationship. I think that's really, really important, where you're allowing space in that relationship. You're allowing the openness to be there in place for the relationship. So, is there enough space in a relationship? Is there enough open space for, for the freedom to exist? And any relationship that's not giving you enough freedom, and not good for your energy, like not liberating you in that way. Like it's time to let it go and time to get rid of that relationship that, or maybe not get rid of, but if you're in a committed relationship, then you see how what I just said may be a little bit of a complication. Well, okay, talk about things with the other person. Talk about like, okay, I feel limited. I love you. We get in relationships because we love the person. We like the person, don't we? So you should be in a relationship where you feel safe to talk to the other person, to have conversations, to bounce ideas off and say, I feel limited. I feel like my freedom and my sort of rights are not getting respected. So it's time to be discerning about that and talk about the things that need to be discussed in that relationship. About what is not giving you enough freedom, and just have conversations and, address some things and discuss some things. I think that you'll reap conclusions that are better for you, that are much healthier for you in that kind of way. And then, Aquarius can be the odd one out. Aquarius can be the one that is, different from everybody else. It's sort of the oddball of the Zodiac. It's sort of the one that stands out, the one that stands apart from the crowd. It is about connections and other people and relationships, like all air signs are, but it wants to be individual. It doesn't feel connected. Like Aquarius, it is about, it's ironic how Aquarius can be about connections and relationships, but they feel like they're the odd one out because they feel like their mind is more advanced than others. And, there's a negative side of Aquarius, like one of the shadows is intellectual arrogance. But I'm not here to discuss that here. I'm just here to discuss the the feeling of not being connected. Where you don't feel tied in, you don't feel a bond there. So you deserve to feel emotionally connected and be in a relationship and be in a situation, like allow yourself to be vulnerable, allow yourself to feel and speak about these. Like Aquarius is very, they have feelings, but it's difficult for them to actually feel the feelings. Like it's so easy for them, like, and I'm an air moon, so I know this, so like to intellectualize and talk and think about the feelings. That's really, really huge, instead of just feeling them. It's about opening up to the other person and allowing them to trust you, being in a relationship where they can trust you when it comes to opening up about feelings, so that when you open up about your feelings, or when you share these feelings intellectually, you can feel a closer tie and connection to them, and you can feel a closer bond to them in the relationship. I think that this is really, really huge. Because Aquarius can feel like they're not going to understand me, they're not going to accept me, they're going to push me down, they're going to judge me, they're going to reject me, and I can't share my feelings. I have to blend and I have to do what they say. Like, you're worthy of connection, you're worthy of relationship. You don't have to sit at the Thanksgiving table feeling the odd one out as opposed to everyone else. You can be connected, and I think that it will help you feel less anxious and less depressed and sad if you can form healthy relationships, and if you can just be open about your feelings. And I'm specifically talking to a family member that I have who is an Aquarius moon. Like, it's okay to share your feelings. Don't feel like you're going to be rejected and denied and judged for sharing your feelings. Like, it is okay to share your feelings. It's okay. And I encourage Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising to be open about their feelings and to be vulnerable and to allow others to hold space for them when it comes to their emotions, and for others to validate their own feelings. So anyway, that's what I want to discuss with Aquarius. Moving on to Pisces. Finally, Pisces, this video is getting long and I'm getting tired and exhausted doing this video already, so wrapping up with Pisces. You see why I don't do the general and the 12 sign at the same time. I just, oh my gosh, that would kill the life out of me if I did both in one recording. Wow, that would be way too long. I would not, this is already long enough. I cannot do both at one time, so that's why I divide it up in parts. You may not want to be seen and recognized, Pisces. You may want to just be loved and accepted by those in your own world, because Pisces can feel sort of alien to the world. It can feel like it doesn't want to be, seen and, heard and understood in that kind of a way. You may not want to be, seen, for who you really are. Be out there, have a spotlight on you, have the lights on you and all that. Like, it's okay to be, you may want to retreat from the world. It may not be a time when you want all the attention, all this and that. You may want to just go into your own little world. And Pisces is a sign, is very introverted, introspective, goes into its own little world, does its own thing, wants to retreat from the world and escape. So it's okay to do this at this time, where you can feel safe, connected, where you can be alone, but you can feel connected to others, with them loving you and accepting you for who you are, for you allowing, for them allowing space for them to accept you as you are, for them to open up their heart and love you for who you really are in your life. And then, how can you serve others and allow others to serve you, Pisces? How can you do this? Because Pisces is a selfless sign. Pisces is a sign that wants to serve and make a difference to others. It wants to be of spiritual service. It wants to offer its sympathy, or its listening ear, or its compassion, or open-heartedness and tenderness. It's about, Virgo is about service, but the downside of Virgo is just overworking and not receiving enough. So you're worthy of receiving, but you're also worthy of serving, making a difference in your life. And you still want to serve, you still want to be a compassionate service. So how can you use the opposite sign of Virgo to be a practical service to others? A practical service, you're serving others, and others are serving you in that kind of way. And you have the dance between giving to others, serving others in the kind of way, and receiving. You're serving others, you're making a difference, you're doing good things for others, you're doing good deeds for others. Because you really, really want to. And you're also receiving what they're giving you, because you are, Virgo and Pisces is a sort of service axis. So you are doing that, you're allowing yourself with that. And then it's okay to retreat from the world during this time. Do not put yourself out there and commit to whatever responsibility, whatever duty, whatever your burden is. Can you serve your family or your community, focusing on your own little nest, focusing on your own little family home, fourth house environment, focusing on your own little world. And you may want to retreat into your own little world when it comes to not, always putting yourself out there and doing all this. With committing and doing all these things at this time. So it's okay to do this. You're meant to retreat, because one of the things that I discussed on the Virgo, Venus and Virgo video is it's okay to retreat from the world. It's okay to do your own thing, go into your own world. So that's what I invite you at this time. It is to retreat. It is to go inside. It's to reflect and do all this, because it's okay to do this. It's okay not to always be out and have all the intention, always have the responsibilities and the duties and this and that. It's okay to come back and focus on your own small little world, and making a small little difference in small ways to the people that you truly care for. So, wow, okay, I have to say that was long. Let me just see how long this is. 119. Okay, this was a long episode. Gosh, I hope that you found something valuable out of your reading. I really took my time with this episode. It was a lot that I had to say in this. I am feeling absolutely mentally exhausted now. After doing this, I cannot go any further. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening and hearing your reading and supporting my channel. If you want to, I encourage you to support my work, I would say, by subscribing to this channel, liking this video, doing all the things, even hyping this video, putting you on a leaderboard. You can hype 3 free times, this week, and then it just says you're out of hypes and you wait till next week, like in the first 7 days of the video getting there, you can hype it. And so I encourage you all that. I encourage all the support. Thank you for tuning in. And I will see you on tomorrow's episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast, where I'll be discussing an aspect which I'm so looking forward to talk about: Uranus trine Pluto. Collectively, the collective look at Uranus trine Pluto, which is about change, transformation, new revelations, new revolutions, and greater sense of technology and communication coming out. I really want to discuss that aspect in depth, what's going on for humanity as a whole, in that sense, and then getting into your 12 sign reading a day after that, which will be on, I do believe, on July 9th, where I will be doing your 12 sign reading for that. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and bye for now. Bye for now, everybody. Take care.